You know that feeling when you haven't written or drawn or played or made us something in a while, and the world starts to feel slightly further away, like you're watching your own life through fogged glass. Everything still works, you still function, but something inside you has gone quiet in a way that isn't peaceful. It's more like a room where the light has been switched off and no one's noticed yet. If that feels familiar to you, you're not alone. For many INFJs, creative expression isn't a hobby. It isn't even a passion in the way that word gets used. It's a form of translation, a way of moving what lives inside you, all the impressions, the unspoken understandings, the emotions that don't have names yet, into something that finally exists outside of you. And when that translation stops happening, something in your inner world begins to press against its own walls. Let's name this properly, because most INFJs have been told somewhere along the way that their creative pull is a nice thing, a gift, a talent, maybe even something to monetize. But almost no one has told them what it actually is psychologically and why stopping it costs so much more than they realize. For an INFJ, creating is regulation. Your dominant cognitive function, what Jung called introverted intuition, or NI, is constantly synthesizing. It takes in patterns, atmospheres, half-glimpsed meanings, small emotional shifts in the people around you, and it weaves them quietly in the background into a kind of inner tapestry. But NI is a perceiving function. It gathers. It doesn't naturally release. That's why so many INFJs describe feeling full of images, full of feelings they can't quite explain, full of things they've seen but not yet said. Creating is how the fullness moves. It's how the inner tapestry finds a way out. The psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi spent decades studying what he called flow, that state where you lose track of time, where the self quiets, where action and awareness merge into one clear stream. He found that flow doesn't just feel good. It's one of the most reliable sources of meaning and psychological order that humans can access. And crucially, flow happens most easily when someone engages a skill that matches the depth of what they're trying to express. For INFJs, the depth of what you're trying to express is enormous. The music, the writing, the painting, the poetry, the songs you make when no one's watching, these aren't decorative. They are the skill you've unconsciously built to match the size of your inner world. Without them, there's no place for the inner world to go. So it stays inside, and it builds. You may have noticed this without having language for it. The weeks when you don't write, your thoughts start looping. The months when you don't play, your emotions start to feel heavier and less distinct, like everything is one color. The seasons when you don't create anything at all, you start to feel a strange, quiet grief that has no clear cause. You may even start to feel disconnected from yourself, as if the person you know yourself to be is somewhere just out of reach. That's not weakness. That's not depression sneaking in. That's an INFJ nervous system that has lost its main channel of release. Stephen Porges, the neuroscientist behind polyvagal theory, describes the human nervous system as needing rhythms of engagement and rest, patterns of expression and settling to stay regulated. For sensitive people, and especially for INFJs, creative expression is one of the most powerful ways the system moves between those states. When you write or make music or lose yourself in something you're building, your body enters a state of focused calm. Your breathing slows. Your inner noise quiets. It's not just that you feel better afterward, it's that your entire physiological system has been reset by the act of making, which means when you stop creating, you don't just lose an activity, you lose a form of self-regulation that your body has been quietly depending on. And here's what makes this harder for INFJs specifically. You tend not to make things casually. You have a hard time making something small and unimportant just for fun, because every time you create, some part of you is trying to say something true, something that matters, something that took years of watching and feeling to be able to say at all. So creating for you is vulnerable. And when life becomes overwhelming, when work is heavy, when people need too much of you, when the world feels too loud, the first thing that often gets set down is the very thing that would have kept you whole. You tell yourself you'll come back to it when things calm down, when you have more energy, when you feel more inspired. But the truth is, the calm you're waiting for is often on the other side of the creating, not before it. Inspiration isn't what starts the process. The process is what restores you enough to feel inspired again. I want to say something to you gently because I think you may need to hear it. If you have stopped making the thing that used to make you feel like yourself, you are not lazy. You are not blocked in some mysterious way that needs to be diagnosed. You are, most likely, an INFJ whose life has demanded so much output in other directions that there is nothing left over for the one form of output that actually feeds you back. That's not a personal failure. That's a pattern. And patterns can shift. You don't need to create something impressive. You don't need to finish anything. You don't need it to be good or shareable or worth anyone else's time. The creating is not for the outcome. It's for the movement. It's for the small, quiet transfer of something from inside you to outside you, even if the only witness is the page or the room or the soft sound of your own hands. A single sentence written by candlelight counts. A few chords played before bed counts. A page of a journal that no one will ever read counts. A photograph you take just because the light was doing something you loved, that counts. Your system works the way it does, and it doesn't need fixing. It just needs its channels open. It needs somewhere for the inner world to go, because when the inner world has nowhere to go, it doesn't disappear. It only turns further inward until you start to feel like a stranger in your own life. So maybe tonight or tomorrow, or when the room is quiet again, you return to the small thing, not to become an artist, not to be productive, not to make anything of it, just to come back to yourself. If this resonated, you're welcome to stay. This channel is a quiet place for deep minds, a space to turn inward without rush, and to find language for the things you've always felt, but rarely heard named. Subscribe if you'd like to keep company here. A quiet place for deep minds.